Okay, these are not my views. What I did was to go around. I used to work in various schools and with families. Schools around here, so I've worked in Ticehurst and Flimwell, Stonegate, Uplands, Wadhurst, Frant, Mark Cross. And I know a lot of the families, and I felt from those 2 days that we had back in January that there was a lack of people of working age, because we're mostly not of working age here, because they're working, or people with young children because they were looking after their children. And there weren't very many people from the Springfields area or from the social housing areas. And I felt quite strongly, and I think Steve agreed, that they also have a view. What was interesting was looking at everybody else's stuff is how very similar their views are to everybody. So it's the same. It's the same stuff. I think, though, So what I did was to go around mostly over half term and chat with people that I know. So I just went and sat with them and listened and scribbled notes. I also run the guides in Wadhurst, and we have a lot of Ticehurst girls who come in to Wadhurst, so I also picked their brains a bit. So they're mostly sort of the 11s to 14s. They felt the same as everybody. They like its friendliness, they like it being safe and peaceful, they like it being green, they like the community atmosphere, and they like the mix of people that there is in Ticehurst. There was a young man I spoke to. I used to work with him when he didn't go to school very much, when he was about 14, 15. In fact, he didn't go to school at all. He's now got a job. He's been working for a long time. He's a scaffolder. He works quite long hours, and he goes quite long distances sometimes. So he'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning to get to Bournemouth to do a job, come back in the evening. What he really wants, he likes being in Ticehurst. He thinks it's great. He lives down Springfields with his mum. He'd like a place of his own. He'd like it in Ticehurst. He doesn't want to have to do what his sister's done and go and live in Hastings, because he doesn't like Hastings. He wants to live in Ticehurst because it feels safe and friendly and green. Where's he going to afford somewhere to live? He's going to be living with his mum for quite a long time. So housing was a big, big issue for a youngster like him.
Sorry, I do like the qualifiers. It's usually friendly. And I like the mix of people, most of them anyway. But nice people.
Yeah, I think that was a general feel that from the adults, not so much from the children, but from the adults, that they didn't want it to become a pensioners' village, and nor did they want, I don't think I put this anywhere, I don't think I wrote it down because it's a little bit cheeky, but they said they don't want any more of the big footballers' wives' houses like you get down Mayfield Lane in Wadhurst. They didn't feel that they wanted lots of people coming out from London with their £1.5 million buying up the big places and pushing prices up. They wanted local houses for local people. Road traffic crossing was the big one. I think much more than some of the other issues, if traffic was the big one, the kids felt unsafe with the cars. They don't like crossing the roads. It doesn't feel safe. Even down Springfields, cars drive too fast. None of you live down there, do you? Oh, you do, yeah, Laura.
We quite often walk up to the church for church services, and it really is difficult to cross.
Yeah, it's difficult to cross, but it's also, I don't know, Lauren, where you are, but there's a little play park in up Farthing Hill, but you don't get many of the children there. Where they like to be is that little green at the junction between Springfields and Farthing Hill. There's a little bit of green. When the cars aren't there, the kids play ball, they make little camps on that little bit of green. That's where they want to be. They want to be a little bit visible, but also have their own little funny spaces. Children like doing that. But then cars are whizzing around the place, and you can't carry on playing football when there's cars driving past you. Well, you can, but it's not safe. And there was a lot of comment about the parking and places to park, same as everywhere. The housing, I think there was an understanding that developers, when they're developing, want big houses to get the money in, But basically people wanted to have bigger houses for those families where there's 4 or 5 children and they're living in a 2-3 bedroom house. And they don't want to move out to Hellingly, they don't want to go to Hailsham, they don't want to have to go to Hastings, they want to stay in Ticehurst, but they would like larger social housing places, and preferably within the community. And 2 different views on the Hilbury Meadow. One thought it was a poor choice for housing because it's a wildlife area. One thought it'd be a good place to build because it's on the edge of the village and accessible. So that was that. Can we
Move on.
move? Oh, have I got it? No, you've got it. Fab.
Sorry, I think this means mobility scooters.
Oh, it does,
The people
yes.
in electric chairs.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no Bibles around here. Okay.
Right, these are the teenagers. Okay, the transport is rubbish for teenagers. When do the buses stop going towards 6 o'clock? If you're a teenager and you want to go into Tunbridge Wells, you're not going to want to go off, be back by 6 o'clock. It's not going to work. The buses are expensive, the trains are quite full, and the Stonegate station is only every hour, not every half hour. And then if you haven't got a car to get to the supermarkets, life is difficult. Tesco and Hawkhurst is okay, but you try getting back from a family shop on the bus with bags and a buggy. And the same is true for those who use Iceland in Tunbridge Wells. And the hospital at Pembury, 2 bus trips. If you haven't got a car, 2 bus trips to Pembury, and not on a Sunday. There was also, oh yes, the Ticehurst shops are really expensive. I think that's just life with small shops. So I think they get what you guys were saying about greater variety of shops that are affordable. And there was one young man I spoke to who he was worried about the transport, the rail system, because we're not going to get more trains here. He was concerned that we might get fewer trains in the area coming down. He thought there was a plan to cut some of the services. I didn't think there was either, but he was convinced. So, yeah, and the square. Everybody said the square is a bit of a mess and could be made more of.
We'll be hearing more about the square.
Yeah. But that was, I'm just saying, you know, these are people who are living in the village. They would like the square to be a bit more of a focal point. I think that's all, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.